My story is much too sad to be told, but practically everything leaves me totally cold. The only exception I know is the case when I'm out on a quiet spree, fighting vainly the old ennui, and I suddenly turn and see your fabulous face. I get no kick from champagne. Mere alcohol doesn't thrill me at all. So tell me, why should it be true that I get a kick out of you? Some get a kick from cocaine. I'm sure that if I took even one sniff, that would bore me terrifically too. But I get a kick out of you. I get a kick every time I see you're standing there before me. I get a kick, though it's clear to me you obviously don't adore me. I get no kick in a plane, flying too high with some guy in the sky is my idea of nothing to do. Yet I get a kick out of you. I get a kick every time I see you standing there before me. I get a kick, though it's clear to me you obviously don't adore me. I get no kick in a plane, flying too high with some guy in the sky is my idea of nothing to do. Yet I get a kick out of you. I get a kick out of you.
Silver hair, a ragged shirt and baggy pants. The old soft shoe so high, jump so high. Then he lightly touched the dime. I met him in a cell in New Orleans. I was down now. He looked at me to be the eyes of age as he spoke right out. Talked of life, talked of life. He laughed and slapped his leg a step. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, damn. He said his name, Bojangles, then he danced a lick. Across the sand, he grabbed his pens, a better stance. Oh, how he jumped up high. He clicked his heels. He let go life, let go of life. Stood up and shook back his clothes all around. He danced for those at minstrel shows and county fairs throughout the South. He spoke with the tears of 15 years, how his dog and he traveled about. His dog up and died. He just up and died. After 20 years, he still grieved. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, he said, I dance now at every chance and honky-tonks for drinks and tips. But most of the time I spend behind these county bars. He said, I drink some beer. He shook his head. As he shook his head, I heard someone respectfully ask, please, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles. Love of love is in your eyes. The love your smile can't disguise. The love of love is saying so much more than these words could ever say. has hurt, well, it takes my breath away. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, you've got the look of love. It's on in your face, a look the time can't erase. Be mine tonight. Let this be just the start of so many nights like this. Let's take a lover's vow and then seal it with a kiss. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to hold you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. I love you so.
There's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather, since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere, stormy weather. Just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time, so weary all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Keeps raining all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Keeps raining all the all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces.
No, it's right here. I just said that.
Day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and
Hello. Mic's not on. Mic's not on. Hello. Hello.
I'll always
Okay. Thank you.
think of you that way.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hello. It's go time. Hey, party people. Hello. If everyone could take their seats, we could get started tonight. What a rowdy crowd. It's like y'all haven't been out in a while. What's up? Okay, everyone's kind of settling down, taking our seats, getting a drink, going to the baño if you need it. Thank you all for being here tonight, and welcome to the 12th Annual Celebrity Chef event benefiting VNA. My name is Kirsten Reddick, and this is...
My name's Clark Nippers.
He's my better half. And we are thrilled to be the chairs this year. I am a longtime board member of VNA, and I've been a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I'm also the host of the VNA Aging Well podcast series, which is on our website, and I encourage you to listen to it. Lots of good information about our mission, and particularly as it relates to hospice care. I'm also the food writer for Park Cities People and Preston Hollow People. I'm a foodie, and we've been in the business for a really long time. So I'm going to introduce you to Tony Tipton Martin, who's our celebrity chef tonight. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about what the VNA agency and mission means to us.
Me first. Obviously, Kirsten is very passionate about VNA. You'll hear more about that as the night goes on. Thank you all for being here. I'm new to VNA, and my experience in VNA recently was fascinating. I've been around restaurants since I was 8 years old. I've been in kitchens. I've observed kitchens. I've observed operations. And when I went through this kitchen and watched the operation just recently, I was blown away. I was just blown away. It's a well-oiled machine. And if you're giving your time, donating your time, giving your money, whatever it is, you want to know that you're doing that to an organization that's getting the best out of it, the most efficiency. This is an efficient organization. They run it like a machine. They take care of people. There's also a heart and soul to the mission, obviously. but from a function and from a food preparation delivery, it's the tops. And we're just really proud to be part of it. And thank y'all for being here to support it tonight.
So we make and deliver 7,000 meals a day out of that kitchen right there. 7,000 hungry seniors in Dallas County. And there's a waiting list. Our budget stops at a certain number, and there are some folks who really need to get on service, and we are not able to accommodate that. But through events like this and your donor generosity, we can do that. When they asked me to talk about why I am involved with VNA, it's because Chris Kulak asked me to. But then I got to be really familiar with it. And I've been on a lot of boards in Dallas, as I'm sure so many of y'all have. And something about this agency struck me. I'm not saying any other agencies in Dallas are not like this, but we have the most exceptional leadership of any organization I've been involved with. Truly, the reason why we're having the event in this space is because we own this space and we're not going to a hotel and we're not renting a hotel. And everything is done so efficiently. And that is thanks to Catherine Kraus, our CEO, Tom Riccardelli, I'm sorry, Tom, if I messed up your name, who is our VP and General Counsel, Carlton Holland, who is our CFO, who is a brilliant award-winning CFO for nonprofits. A year or two before the pandemic, Carlton had a thought and said, I think we should load up on PPE. And we did, and we had it when no one else had it, and we still had to deliver meals to those 7,500 people a day. We had PPE to take care of that. Chris Kulak is our leader, our chief of strategy and development, and he's the reason why I'm involved with this organization. Olivia Rogers is our chief nursing officer. She's in charge of hospice, and get to know her. She is the light of life. Dealing with hospice is difficult and it's painful, and somehow Olivia makes it great. One of my first podcasts, I interviewed her. I was scared to death, and I said, Olivia, I think hospice is I don't like that word. It's a scary word. And she told me about it. And by the end of our 1 hour conversation, I said, you know what? It's not hospice. It's hospice. It gives people peace in the process of this natural transition that occurs with all of us and our loved ones. And Clark and I, we lost 3 parents in the last 18 months. And we had great hospice experiences. And I was on the phone constantly at 3 o'clock in the morning with Olivia. And I love you dearly. Jennifer Austin is our managing director of development and communications, such an awesome leader, visionary. Sarah Harris is our managing director of marketing, which marketing is not what you think. We need to get connected to hospitals. We need those referrals for hospice patients, and Sarah's really in charge of that. Inga Wilson is our managing director of Meals on Wheels and Population Health. We're a healthcare company at its heart. Sonia Robinson is our managing director of human resources, and we can't do anything without her. And in addition to that leadership team, we have so many people that are involved in the administration of hospice, nurses, Meals on Wheels, logistics and operations, 7,000 meals. We need a lot of logistic help. And donor relations. We have a great team. And so that's why I'm involved, because I believe in the mission and I believe in the people who are stewards of our money. And I am grateful to y'all, and I'm grateful to be a part of this organization. So without further ado, I want to introduce Tony Tipton Martin. This year, we don't have a celebrity chef. We have a celebrity author and historian and storyteller. And it spoke to my heart because I too am a storyteller. And Tony is an award-winning, James Beard award-winning, and Julia Child Foundation award winner, food and nutrition journalist. She uses her cultural heritage and cooking for social change. She is currently the editor-in-chief of Cooks County Magazine, which is beautiful, and you get a copy. And I know you're all going to go home and cook using it. She is also, if you watch Cooks Country on PBS on Saturdays, she is also on there. She is amazing. She has been a huge historian and advocate for the Black American culinary heritage and experience. She is a collector of cookbooks. She found one from 1827. And so, which if you're doing the math there, that was pre-slavery and during slavery. And enslaved Americans contributed a great deal to our culinary heritage, not just here in the South, but throughout the country. In fact, you'll all get a copy of the cookbook and you'll flip through the recipes and you'll see that so many of those recipes are things that are on our Thanksgiving tables. And Thanksgiving didn't start in the South. So in addition to taking the lead on researching and documenting and bringing all of the cultural and history of African-American and enslaved Americans food, it really manifests itself in her cookbook. She's got three books and she's working on more. And as the host and editor of Cook's Country, she gets to manifest that and she gets to talk about the recipes and the techniques. And so we are so very grateful to have Toni Tifton Martin here with us tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kirsten, for that wonderful and really long intro.
I'm sorry.
We've got to do something to shorten that up and just say, she's been around. She's been around. And I want to thank you so much for being here, for supporting this amazing organization, and for welcoming me into town. I have been sharing with most of those of you that I've spoken with tonight that ordinarily when I speak, and I speak a lot to various groups, I'm often on a mission to project my own agenda. And I have a mission to use food as a mechanism to bring us together socially and so that we can enjoy our shared humanity. But this week, being here with this group has really changed me. And often speakers begin with a joke, or they begin by saying it's an honor and a privilege. And in this case, I really mean it. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be able to be here with you and to have participated this week. I went out on a route yesterday. Chris took me on a route and I had the most, this is a really peculiar thing to say, but I had a really great time. It was so rewarding to see the faces of the recipients light up. We mean, as that delivery means as much to them in terms of its food quality as it does just the exchange. And the gentleman that we visited with last was waiting for us at the end of his driveway on his walker, and he wanted to tell us jokes. And so he shared with us 5 jokes. I'm not a joke teller, but they were delightful. And he was just thrilled. So I just want to say thank you very much for inviting me into your world. And I hope to become even more involved. I'm really very excited to be here.
So what are you making for us today?
So we're going to make a little bit of cornbread. Cornbread is a universal bread, but it's interesting to me because I use it as a diversity activity. And I have spoken about it in a past issue of Cook's Country. So along the way, we're going to chat a little bit, and I will talk about recipe technique, but I'll tell some stories at the appropriate start moment. So everybody knows how to make cornbread, I think.
So if y'all have any questions for Toni, please raise your hand and she's happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, this is very casual. So we are going to start with a recipe that is on page 99 in your new book. It's for buttermilk cornbread. And I'm going to begin with the dry ingredients. We're going to start with some all-purpose flour. And we're going to add some cornmeal. And I grew up eating corn. I'm from Los Angeles. Thank you. I grew up in Los Angeles where eating cornbread was my mother, who's a vegetarian. It was her expression of eating whole grain. So she used less white flour and much more of the cornmeal, and often used whole wheat flour. Also on your table, there are just a couple of them left, but there's some leftover recipes. Those are my mother's recipes for, that's her recipe for tofu cornbread. And I will tell you about that in just a minute. So anyway, she used whole grain, she used stone ground, coarse cornmeal, but you can use whichever one you like. We're gonna add a little salt, some leavening in the form of baking powder and baking soda. And the secret ingredient here is sugar. And that's your moment.
I feel like that's kind of controversial. So I need to, by a show of hands, can you tell me how many of y'all are team sweet cornbread? Okay. And how many of y'all do not like it sweet? Okay, listen, babe, I told you everybody likes sweet. So tell me your position on this, because actually Tony is a lightning rod for the debate of sweet or non-sweet cornbread. You started it.
I started it with my friend Ronnie Lundy, who is a famous and well celebrated and beloved Appalachian food writer. And some 20 years ago, we were at a gathering at Ole Miss Southern Foodways Alliance, and bless her heart, Ronnie stood up and did what we all often do, which is to make a declaration as a statement of fact that if you put sugar in your cornbread, it was not cornbread, it was cake. And I was a young, terrified around PhD journalists, PhD people. And I was sitting in the back of the room shivering because I was thinking, if you're African-American, oh, by the way, please eat. I forgot to say that. I love to talk over the chat, over the clanging of silverware, not over the voices, but over the clanging of silverware. So please enjoy your meal. So I was sitting in the back of the room thinking, if you are African-American and you don't add sugar to your cornbread, then it's not cornbread. But what that said to me was that something as simple as a food item could be divisive and could make a person like me feel like I was on the outside. Because here was a group that they were all in agreement that you didn't put sugar in the cornbread. And so if you are Garden and Gun readers, you may have seen this discussed in the New York Times, but that debate has raged ever since she and I introduced it. And the answer to the question involves the making of cornmeal. And apparently when cornmeal production moved out of the intimacy of the immediate community of the South, where the corn was sweeter, because we all know Southern corn is very, very sweet. People in the North, when they migrated out, took the recipe with them and they used a little sugar to replicate the flavor that they were accustomed to in the South. And so what that did for me was help me understand that there were some very interesting common ground for me and people that didn't look like me, but we were not aware that we shared these various common themes in our world. So food is the way that I'm bringing us together with topics like that.
And I love that because we talk about let's break bread. And cornbread, Tony was telling me, cornbread is in many, many cultures, not just the American culture, but tell
That's true. That is true. And so one of the interpretations that is also in the book on page 100 is a version of Spanish cornbread. And one of the guests earlier asked us about the idea of adapting recipes. And what I have begun to say is that I want us to give respect to the person that we received a recipe from. We're hearing a lot of criticism and arguing about adaptation, about appropriation, about people being written out of history. And all of that is true. So one solution that we can have to change that problem is to attribute the recipe. You can change it. And what I want you to do is, as I was just discussing, I want you to think about this for a minute. I'll take a pause. Think about what your cornbread recipe would be like. Normally, my little diversity exercises, we would actually be talking about it. So I would be talking less and you would be talking. But we would discuss, what kind of flour do you use? Do you use whole wheat? Do you use all-purpose? Would you use oat? Would you use almond? How about, would you use any at all? Would you use coarse ground? Those are all ways that we can talk about our own interpretations and our own adaptations, but we can share the fact that we all just really love this recipe, but we make it our way. And we can also say, I read about that in this book. And the point here is not for you to attribute the recipe to me. It's to attribute it to the authors that I identify in this book, to say that these are people that have been making it over the years in their various ways. So we will pause on that for the moment. I'm going to make a little puddle here, an opening, so that we can add our liquid ingredients. So that's a little trick that trained chefs use to help the food, to help the dry and the wet ingredients blend together better. We don't want to over mix this. And if you just drop them in and start stirring, you can over mix the flour. And then that's how you get a tough cornbread. We want this to be light and airy. So we're going to put all of our liquids together in the center of the bowl so that we don't have to stir them as often. So the first thing we want to do is just whip the egg a little bit. And as you can see, it's not taking on that much of the flour.
So if you wanted to adapt it in a way, like I really like my sweet cornbread real fluffy, how would I do that to make it a little fluffier?
So one thing you can do is to add an additional egg.
Okay.
The recipe that I interpreted this from was for a 2-egg mixture. But that would have been too close to the originators, and I did not want to be accused of adapting or stealing or appropriating his recipe.
I'm doing all of those things when I get home. I'm going to adapt. I'm going to steal.
We are doing that now still, and we do that at Cook's Country, but we identify the source. And so what you're noticing here is that I am not adding the fat yet. So what I'm doing is just gradually bringing a little bit of the dry into the wet. I'm going to stop using the whisk, however, because I don't want to beat this. This is not a cake batter. What we want to do is just gently fold it, and that's also what's going to give you that lighter flavor, because this is a whole grain mixture, and the coarseness of the cornmeal can become overly dense. So we're just going to make this light, and we're going to moisten this. And what you might notice here is you're thinking, well, that's a lot drier than what I would have in my bowl. How is that ever going to work? And so here's where I want you to use your imagination. We're going to have a little television magic. And so if we were in our kitchen, we would have taken the butter called for in the recipe and heated it in a cast iron skillet. I love making my cornbread in a cast iron skillet. And I want you to also be thinking, as we were talking about, whether you'd put in sugar or not. Would you put in 2 eggs or not? Would you use almond milk, buttermilk, whole milk, non-fat milk, whatever, water, depending on what you want to do. Tofu, that's what's on my mom's recipe. We will you can use corn stick pans, you can use a regular baking pan, but I like cast iron. It heats really uniformly. And what you're going to discover when you have the cornbread for your meal, there's a little bit of a rim of crust around the edge of it, and it's so yummy. And you also really love that when it has a little taste of salt there. So what I'm going to use here, ordinarily bakers will tell you to use unsalted butter because we want to be able to manage our own amount of salt. We don't want the commercial manufacturers to have control of the salt. So most of the time, bakers are now telling people to use unsalted butter and then add the salt themselves. But what we're going to do here is use a little less salt in the mixture so that we can shift our salt presence over into the butter. And what we would do if this was a stovetop is this would be the butter that went in, and it goes into the oven. And as it heats, this oven is like flaming hot. I want you to put like 3 hot pads to take this out of the oven. It should be really, really hot. And your butter will be just on the edge of looking like it's going to be burnt. I want it to be a little bit brown. So we don't have that now, but we're going to pretend. And so as we add the butter, ordinarily what would happen is the heat of the butter, when it interacts with this, the chemistry associated with the leavening would cause this to instantly start to swell. It's so fun to watch, and it's a great thing to do with kids. Not this part, but to let them see when you start talking about the chemistry and STEM issues, that's another part of my work here, is to help our young people understand that there is brain work associated with cooking. This is not all just somebody's voodoo magic where they, inherited cooking skills. Especially baking, right? So I'm lightly blending these together. And so if this was warm, this would go together a lot easier. And since it isn't, we have our little cheat because it's television. And we're going to just continue to pretend that that's the hot butter that's loosening this. You guys are great with your imagination.
Woo!
I can't.
It'll have
Keep
better
drinking. Yeah, it helps you with your imagination. All right. So our batter is just about the way we would like for it to look. And again, this would have started to rise right in front of your eyes because of the heat interacting. So you want this to happen pretty quickly. You don't want to stand here and stir this. You want this to be hot because you still want the skillet to be hot. When you pour this batter into the skillet has that residual butter in it as well. And now your batter is going to interact with the heat of the pan. And if this were wetter, stay with me. If this were wetter, then the edge of the batter would start to curl over. And just on the edge, it would start to cook before the center is cooking. And it folds in. And speaking of adaptation, last night at dinner, we had a wonderful guest at the table who, as I described this activity, said, oh, her grandmother took a spoon and actually eased some of the butter from the edges over the middle of the cornbread and brought some of that crispy brown, those little brown bits onto the top of it. And so then as it baked, you got these little craggly spaces. Anyways, now use your hot pan. Okay, so the pan,
nurses in the audience.
yeah, the pan is hot and we're gonna put it in the oven. And it's going to bake for 15 to 20 minutes. And that'll be a great amount of time for us to do a little cleanup and we can talk some more. We can story tell while that's baking. So don't watch the pan. Don't turn on the oven. It's
I know, right?
It
Don't open
takes
it.
15 minutes.
So one of the funny things about Tony, and I really want you, everyone's getting a copy of this book. If you do nothing else, please read the introduction because it's amazing. It's how she compiled all the information and how she researched. But there's some great stories about Tony. And one of my favorites is about her when she was trick-or-treating when she was growing up in LA.
Yeah. So as I said, I have felt out of place at Southern Foodways Alliance, where I was president, which is actually unusual. And I was also, if you've heard of Foodways Texas, I was president here in Austin also. Part of, I think, what made me feel that way was I grew up, had this very wonderful upbringing in Los Angeles. And we lived in a part of town where African-American celebrities lived. It wasn't quite segregated in LA, but people tended to centralize themselves. And so I lived in a place called View Park, which was which was a former Olympic village in the middle of the city. And Ray Charles happened to live there. And so he lived 2 blocks from us. And as soon as it would get dark on Halloween, before our parents would get home from work, we would all be standing out in front of the house with our jackets and our bags ready to get to Charles's house. And you had to get there quick and you had to get there first because he gave away McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Amazing.
It's so amazing. And so while all the other kids were still out dilly-dallying the other blocks, the older kids, we could run faster. And so we would get there and get our cheeseburgers. And it seemed a little bit, I don't know how you guys feel about this. It felt a little bit pretentious to tell that story at first, like bragging that I lived near Ray Charles. But I thought it was really an important marker for people to understand that there was an entire community in this country of African Americans that were middle class and affluent and had earned their way into that community of people who provided for their families. And many of them arrived in that state by using food as a tool for their uplift. And that began with enslaved people. And so what Jubilee does is, the point of this whole title is that we are all free now. We're free from the labels that confine us to our belief that a chef should cook a certain way, that a restaurant should serve a type of food, that I should talk about a certain kind of thing. And it frees us all. And if we are free from those stereotypes, then we can begin to appreciate one another as individuals. So while this is a work of recipes and stories about individuals, because I'm breaking down the stereotype of the group by talking about individuals, I felt like I did come around. My publisher said, yeah, leave that story in. Mm-hmm. And so I do tell more of those stories to provide some balance, to help readers understand that even people who were enslaved, well, let's pick a real person and talk about the cake.
Okay. That's a great
That's a
story.
great
Yes.
story. Let's talk about the cake. So the dessert that you're going to have is a recipe created by a free woman of color in 1866. It is the first known African-American cookbook. The book from 1827 was a house servant's directory from the governor's mansion in Boston or in Massachusetts, and it was never really believed to be a recipe book. So the first time recipes of all kinds of cooking appear in print, it was a synergistic relationship between the white women in this woman's community who transcribed the recipes for this cook. She wasn't just a cook. She was a baker. She had her own bakery. She had a boarding house. And she was trying to raise the money to care for her handicapped child. I love that story. I love telling it to young people. I want them to understand it. Young women, I want them to know that their lives might be hard, but they were not enslaved. And that there's a woman who overcame her handicap, her issues in a very complicated world with food. And to try to encourage young people to go into this field. And so the cake is her recipe. It has been adapted over the years so that it's just a lemon pound cake that appears in all kinds of recipes, including Ina Garden's.
Oh, wow.
And so Ina and I have had great conversation about the fact that she is making a cake that we don't really know the origins of it, but we do know that both white and Black people make it. And we're not here to say who made it first or who made it best. We're saying we all make it.
Right.
And that's the message that I'm working on.
That's right. I love that. So while
oh wait, it's gonna burn.
Oh my God.
I got caught up in my own story. Sorry.
Okay. Well, real quick, does anyone have any questions? Okay.
So I was looking at the
It added more protein. After we lost my grandmother suddenly, my mom became fixated on nutrition and turned our backyard into an urban garden. We had a little duck, so I tell that story about Corky, the mascot in our yard, and she started experimenting with tofu when no one else was doing it. And so I grew up with scrambled eggs with curry and tofu, all of those early things that hippies were known to do. And so she was a leader in that. And so she blends the tofu with the liquid ingredients. So if you should choose to do that, it would have gone into the recipe just as the regular recipe explains, but you add the additional liquid for some protein.
That's a great question.
I don't remember. It's a really old recipe. Those recipe cards were donated to me by State Farm Insurance. When I started this work, no one wanted to hear what I was talking about. So if you are feeling like you're pushing a rock up a hill with the work that you do in this world, in this space, nobody was interested in this message. And so I asked to participate in a Juneteenth celebration, which is the June 19th holiday now in Austin. And so they set me up in the health pavilion where they were giving all of the health exams, right? You could go and get your blood pressure tested and diabetic tests and all of that. And outside on the pavilion was all the really yummy food. And so I wheeled in with my tofu in the blender, and I was making tofu coffee, cornbread. People walked right on by. Nobody wanted to talk. They didn't want to hear my stories. They didn't want to know anything I was doing. They were outside getting sausage.
Austin is weird.
It was, but this was 20 years, like they didn't care. They wanted sausage. Yeah. And so they ate sausage, but now I'm popular. People do want to know about how to make tofu cornbread. It's a different day. And so the moral of the story is that we start this work with the biggest of hearts and the greatest of ambitions. And it seems like we're not making any progress. But now there is so much conversation about the number of young African-American vegans that the next generation is rejecting the industrialized food complex and meat in particular. And so they are becoming they're using that power for their activism.
Well, and to your point, there's a lot of stereotype about Southern food and soul food and African-American food. It's really stereotypical. And I think you're a perfect example.
Right.
You grew up in LA with a vegetarian mother, and your recipes are by and large very healthy and adaptable.
That's right. So now, speaking of one of those recipes, it's nice and hot. Can you smell it? So, I did that wrong. I did it better earlier. Darn, sorry, rewind. Julia used to say that, I'm told she once said. Yeah, so here's our final product. No, and I love that this is Shirley, Texas, because that had very, very same question we had earlier. And so, as I said, on page 100, the next recipe is for Spanish cornbread. And there's actually a really pretty picture of it. Yeah, let's show the picture before it will entice you, even though we're not selling books. But it is not sacrilegious. It's actually, the African Americans called it Spanish cornbread throughout the history when they were referring to this. Here, if we put it under the mirror, it'll reflect.
See, I'm not used to being on TV.
But you're going to be there with me soon. So you can barely see, but there are flecks of chili. There's cheese. There's cream corn. And you can see the top of this is craggly, so it's not intended to be really wet. If you want a more smooth, wet, Edna Lewis is a famous African-American chef from Freetown, Virginia. Her batter is much smoother than mine. She likes it much wetter. Might be the additional egg. It's also a matter of buttermilk, right? So homemade, home-produced farm fresh buttermilk reacts very differently than commercial buttermilk. So yes, it's perfectly acceptable. In fact, it's encouraged on page 100.
Any other questions?
Anybody have another question? I'd love to entertain them.
So there's one thing in the introduction, and how many of y'all grew up with a coffee can of bacon grease in your kitchen? Okay, there you go. So Tony says it's okay. And
but I'm saying you should put it in the refrigerator now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we all survived.
We did.
We didn't die.
Yeah, but now I'm editor-in-chief.
Okay, better not. Okay, because we do have refrigeration now. But one of the things I loved about food and nutrition is you have this great quote about if it can be nutritious. Oh, yeah. So this is really important for the work that you do. And I'm going to get this emblazoned on a t-shirt if someone wants to help me with that. But I've become comfortable saying it's not nutritious if they don't swallow it. And that was the way I raised my children. You know, I wanted them to have some freedom to choose healthy foods, but I limited what was in my pantry. So it meant they just couldn't choose anything crazy because there was no food color, nothing with any colors in it. I had a big sign on our pantry door that, you know, the circle that has a slash through it that says no. Mine said HFC and had a circle around it in big red letters. And the kids used to come over and say, "What is your mom? What is she doing?" And it was no high fructose corn syrup zone. Mm-hmm. And my kids, that's the way they grew up. They just knew that if it was on the package that said it had those letters, like those words, they couldn't have it. And they're perfectly happy, healthy kids now. Very successful children. Any other? There was one other thing we were supposed to talk about. Well, there's one story that Tony started as a writer, actually, LA Times, and had a story. She's a great storyteller. And one of the stories that she told really changed the trajectory for a family. And if you would not mind just telling us that story real quick.
Yeah, and I hope that we are making all of the stories there's some continuity here and some message that I was an outlier. And so when I was hired by the LA Times, I was at college. I was in just right out of college. And the food editor there, I think she was just checking a box when she hired me. And so she used to keep me in the corner and wouldn't allow me to write any stories. And so Ruth Reichel, who became the food editor at Gourmet Magazine, she was the restaurant critic for the New York Times. Ruth came over to be our food editor when this woman retired. And she called me into her office and she said, "This stuff you're writing in the back of the paper doesn't seem like you like it very much." And I said, "Well, I don't." And she said, well, what would you like to be doing? And I said, I don't know. I haven't been given the opportunity. And so Ruth said, I want you to go out into the streets of Los Angeles and not come back until you know what you want to do. And that was such an incredibly generous, liberating opportunity that she provided to me. And I wandered around the city for days without knowing what to do. Two things emerged from that. The first is that I came back with a story about my Mormon neighbors. They were working in their garden and they were very nutrition minded, as you well know. And so I wrote a piece about them, and they were elderly. And as I was they were closing the door behind me, I put my notebook away, which is usually when a journalist gets their best quotes. And I put my notebook away, and one of them said, you know, sometimes we wonder what life will be like when we get old. And I think they were like 90. I'm not kidding. They were 90. And so I used that as my opening sentence. And I turned the story in, and I could see through the glass in Ruth's office that she was having a reaction. And I was, of course, now I'm really terrified because this woman has given me the opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm thinking that I'm going to fail miserably. But I saw something in those people that, just like everything else, I see things that other people don't see. And so Ruth said, I'm going to sit on this for the weekend and just let it marinate. And Monday, I'll let you know. And Monday she came in. It was the longest weekend of my early career, but she came in on Monday and she said, I'm going to run it the way it is. And what is so provocative about that is it's the first time that any food section in the country, in any major daily newspaper, ran a story that did not have recipes attached to it. It was all about the people. It was about their health profile. Yeah, it was really incredible. It was a watershed moment for both she and I. Obviously, she took a huge stand to do that. But it changed the food industry, and it changed what we think about food writing now, that all stories don't have to have a recipe. Recipes help. Recipes are a great way for us to communicate, but they aren't the only mechanism. The other story is really short, and I guess we'll end there, huh? The second story, I decided that I wanted to learn more about the women who were receiving government services, because I had heard all of these terrible, disparaging stories about what they did with their food stamps. So I wanted to see for myself. And so I went over into the east side of LA, and I attended a WIC class. And there was a woman sitting in the rows behind me, and I overheard her describing to another woman that she was maximizing her dollars by couponing. And that she was getting twice as many groceries. And I think I cued in because at first she was sounding like she was manipulating the system or doing something, underhanded, but it turned out she was using coupons. Well, what was so provocative about that is that she was a recovering crack addict. She had been living on the street with her 7 children. It was heart-wrenching. A church had allowed her to bunk in a back building of the church. So I asked her if we could come in and do a story on her. I wanted to see her prepare a meal for these children. And so I explained to the photographer that we were going to be very conscientious and not judgmental, that we were not going to use this as an opportunity to editorialize to whatever the public perception is about poor women and crackheads and all of that. And so what we did was we shot really closely. And this woman took out, she trusted us, and she took out a rubber, a plastic lid for a 5-gallon ice cream container. And that was her chopping board. And that was one thing. And I made note of that. But the second thing that she did was so compelling and showed me really what we've done to entire communities of people that we haven't just given the moment to grow and show their dexterity and their ingenuity. She took out a gallon of milk from a chest freezer. She did not have a refrigerator. And so she was trying to raise these 7 children without a fridge. Now, any of us that don't even want cold, warm water cannot imagine what it was like to have to ensure that the children did not get sick from drinking warm milk. And so she had to figure out what she was going to cook as the residual, what was left over after the kids had consumed their 3 glasses of milk a day or whatever her story. It was amazing. And so again, I go back and I write this story for Ruth. And we won several awards for that piece. But what is the most compelling part of it, and where I'll leave you, is that I didn't know this until many years later. Ruth has just begun talking about it in interviews. I've heard her on podcasts explaining this. The Times had to set up an account for all of the checks that we received in the mail. People started flooding the building with money to buy this woman a refrigerator. And by the time a phone call arrived on my desk, the last call I had taken was like somebody saying they were sending $1,500. And like back then that was a Sub-Zero refrigerator. It was the Cadillac of refrigerators. And, but this person was saying, we want to do something. And I'm saying, well, we've got like a lot of money already. I don't know what this is going to do with all this money. And the woman said she was an agent, a representative of someone in Hollywood, and I would never be able to tell. But I think the statute of limitations has passed. And it was Bette Midler. And I can't recall, I'm going to have to dig out the story, but she paid either for her utilities or bought her a car or something else because we were inundated with money already for this woman to have a fridge. So I think that's a delightful place for us to end and say that you make a difference. Yeah. We all can make a difference. And I'm really inspired by you to take more of this energy and do something with it. Thank you. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's break bread. And don't forget, we have amazing raffle prizes over there. $100 a ticket, or you can get 6 tickets for $500. Eisman gift cards. Everybody here likes some baubles and beads, especially me, babe. Trips and wonderful things. So please, go ahead and go over there and make get your raffle tickets. Enjoy your dinner. And we're going to follow up real quick with a little some remarks after dinner.
I wish I knew how it would feel.
If you want to buy any raffle tickets, just raise your hand and one of the employees from VNA will come over and get that for you.
I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say them loud, say them clear for the whole round world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and agree that every man should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things that I can do, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting anew. Well, I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if by my own I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know, yeah. And I'd sing, hey, 'cause I know, yeah. And I'd sing, hey, 'cause I know how it feels. I know how it feels to be free. Yeah, yeah, I know how it feels. Yes, I know how it feels. How it feels to be free.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me. hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries far behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Da 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 da
I give him all my love, that's all I do. And if you saw my love, you'd love him too. I love him. He gives me everything, and tenderly the kiss my lover brings, he brings to me. I love him. A love like ours could never die, as long as I have you near me. Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know this love of mine will never die. I love you. Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know this love of mine will never, never die. And I love him. And I love him. And I love him.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. And I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon. I'll be seeing you. Yes, I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I will find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. Yes, I will dig you in the early bright, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon. I'll be looking, but I'll be seeing you.
Pack up all my cares and woe. Here I go, singing low. Bye bye, blackbird. Where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is he. Bye bye, blackbird. No one here can love or understand me. All those hard luck stories they all hand me. Make my bed, light my light. I'll arrive late tonight. Blackbird, bye bye. A while ago, when I was young, I heard a song and heard it sung. I don't know why it makes me sad. A happy song should make me glad.
night. Blackbird, bye-bye. Unforgettable, that's what you are. Unforgettable, though near or far. Like a song of love that clings to me. How the thought of you does things to me. Never before has someone been more unforgettable in every way. And forevermore, that's how you stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too. Unforgettable in every way, and forevermore, that's how you stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
Say, love me, leave me, let me be lonely. You won't believe me, but I love you only. I'd rather be lonely than happy with somebody else. You might find the nighttime the right time for kissing. Nighttime is my time for just reminiscing, regretting instead of forgetting with somebody else. There'll be no one unless that someone is you. I intend to be independently blue. Say, I want your love, don't want to borrow. Have it today to give back tomorrow. Your love is my love, there's no love for nobody else. Hey, love me, leave me, and let me be lonely. You won't believe me, but I love you only. I'd rather be lonely than happy with somebody else. You might find the night time the right time for kissing. Nighttime is my time for just reminiscing, regretting instead of forgetting with somebody else. There'll be no one unless that someone is you. I intend to be independently blue. Say, hey, I want your love, don't want to borrow. Have it today to give back tomorrow. Your love is my love is your love. There's no love for nobody else.
Without a word of warning, the blues walked in this morning and circled around my lonely room. I didn't know why I had that sad and lonely feeling until my baby called and said we're through. Oh, yesterday this time I sang a love song, but today I'm singing the blues. It strikes me kind of funny how love can be this way. We were lovers last night, honey, but I'm alone again today. And it strikes me kind of funny how fate can be unfair. I come out on the losing end in every love affair. Yes, it must be written for me that I should be the one to always lose. Yesterday this time I sing a love song. But right now I'm singing the blues. Oh, yeah.
Something told me it was over. Yeah. When I saw you and her talking, something deep down in my soul said, cry, girl, cry. When I saw you and that girl walking now, ooh, I would rather go blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, child. Ooh. So you see, I love you so much that I don't want to watch you leave me, babe. Most of all, I just don't want to be free, no. Ooh, ooh. I was just sitting there thinking of your kiss and your warm embrace, yeah. When the reflection in the glass that I held to my lips now, babe, yeah, revealed the tears that was on my face, yeah. Ooh, and baby, I'd rather be blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, yeah. Ooh, baby, I'd rather be blind. Living for you, easy living, it's easy to live when you're in love, and I'm so in love, there's nothing in life but you. I've never regretted the years I'm giving, they're easy to give. When you're in love, I'm happy to do whatever I do for you. For you. Maybe I'm a fool, but it's fun. People say you rule me with one wave of your hand, darling, it's grand. They just don't understand living for you. It's easy living, it's easy to live when you're in love, and I'm so in love.
There's nothing in life but you.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all of the time. Oh yeah, life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere. Stormy weather, and I just can't get my poor self together. Oh, I'm weary all of the time, so weary all of the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. Oh yeah, if he stays away, oh, rocking chair is gonna get me. All I do is pray the Lord will let me walk in the sun once more. Oh, I can't go on, can't go on, can't go on. Everything I have is gone. Stormy weather, since my man and I, me and my daddy ain't together. Keeps raining all of the time. Oh, keeps raining all of the time. Oh yeah, raining all of the time. Stormy weather. Yes, Sunday kind of love, a love to last past Saturday night, and I'd like to know it's more than love at first sight. And I want a Sunday kind of love. Oh yeah, I want a love that's on the square. Can't seem to find somebody, someone to care. And I'm on a lonely road that leads to nowhere. I need a Sunday kind of love. I do my Sunday dreaming, oh yeah, and all my Sunday scheming, every minute, every hour, every day. Oh, I'm hoping to discover a certain kind of lover who will show me the way, and my arms need someone to enfold, to keep me warm when Mondays and Tuesdays grow cold.
all my life to have and to hold. Oh, I want a Sunday kind of love. Oh, yeah. I don't want a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, oh, nothing but Sunday. Oh, yeah. I want a Sunday, Sunday. I want a Sunday kind of love. Oh, yeah. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday kind of love. Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Oh, but you're lovely with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft. There is nothing for me but to love you just the way you look tonight. With each word your tenderness grows, tearing my fear apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. Lovely, never, never change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look tonight. Heaven, I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak, and I seem to find the happiness I see when we're out together, dancing cheek to cheek. Heaven, I'm in heaven, and the cares that hung around me through the week seem to vanish like a gambler's lucky streak when we're out together, dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, I love to climb a mountain and to reach the highest peak. But it doesn't thrill me a half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, I love to go out fishing in a river or a creek, but I don't enjoy it half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Dance with me, I want my arms about you. The charm about you will carry me through to heaven. I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak. And I seem to find the happiness I see when we're out together, dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, I love to climb a mountain and reach the highest peak, but it doesn't thrill me half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, I love to go out fishing in a river or a creek, but I don't enjoy it half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Dance with me, I want my all about you. The charm about you will carry me through to heaven. I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak. And I seem to find the happiness I see when we're out together, dancing cheek cheek to cheek.
Well, once I lived the life of a millionaire, spending my money, I didn't care. Taking my friends out for a mighty good time, buying bootleg liquor, champagne and wine. Then I began to fall so low. Couldn't find me no friends, had no place to go. And if I ever get my hands on $1 again, I'm gonna hold on to it till the eagle grin. I said, nobody knows you when you're down and out. In your pockets, you ain't got one penny, and your friends, you didn't have any. Just as soon as you get up on your feet again, here they all come. They say that they're your long lost friends. Oh Lord, without a doubt, nobody wants you. Nobody needs you. Nobody wants you when you're down and out. I say, nobody wants you. Nobody needs you. Nobody wants you when you're down and out.
you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you. Now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you. You drove me, nearly drove me out of my head, while you never shed a tear. Remember, I remember all that you said. Told me love was too plebeian. Told me you were through with me. And now
Hello. Hi. Hi. Oh, look at me. I'm mobile. I can walk around like Phil Donahue. How about that? So how was dinner? Did y'all like it? That cornbread? Yeah. It wasn't real sweet, but it was really, really good. So we are going to have very brief remarks tonight, but y'all stay and have your cake and eat it too and enjoy and have some more drinks. I really want to make a plea for you all to buy some raffle tickets. We're a little low on the sales. We've got fabulous prizes, $100 per ticket, or you can buy 6 tickets for $500. So go ahead and just raise your hand and or your drink, whatever. And a person from the VNA staff will come and buy your tickets for you. So I'm going to introduce to you now the chairman of the board of VNA, Mary Frances Bellman, who is going to make some remarks, and we welcome her. And thank you for your service, dear. You're the best.
Thank you so. Okay, I'm good. Thank you so much, Kirsten. And thank you, Tony. Where are you, Tony? Are you here? There she is. Okay. Tony, I just want to thank you for that wonderful presentation and for sharing your obvious love and passion for all that you stand for. It's so wonderful to see. I wish I could catch your eye. It's so wonderful to see that your powerful message is getting traction and momentum. We're absolutely delighted to be part of that and that you're here today. Truly remarkable, really. And as Kirsten said, what a wonderful meal. I challenge anybody whose lamb did not melt in their mouth. Everybody, let's give Tony another round of applause. Well, it's been such a long time since we've all gathered together for a celebrity chef, and it is truly lovely to see you all here this evening. So much has happened since then, and frankly, some of it's a bit of a blur. In one of the most challenging times in VNA history, We have served more people in more ways than ever before. And we did this safely, and we did this with immense compassion. We provided hope, guidance, nourishment, and comfort when it was needed most. I am hugely proud of all that this innovative organization has achieved. As a board, we focus our efforts strategically to ensure that the VNA is well positioned to do the hard things and to ensure we go where we're needed most. I've sat in so many meetings where this very talented team's question was, there's a need. How can we meet it? What is the latest need in our community? Do we have the infrastructure to address it? And inevitably, the answer is we'll find a way. And I have three really important examples of this challenging time. Firstly, we expanded our clinical presence to provide more clinical and social work services outside of meal delivery to help our clients live independently and securely. Secondly, we expanded our partnership network to provide COVID vaccines and boosters, flu vaccines, and a number of other services that were vital during the pandemic. And thirdly, we launched the VNA Pediatric Hospice Program, Children's Haven. To help support our youngest patients and their families as they navigate critical illnesses. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve this organization as board chairman. And now it is my pleasure to extend my heartfelt thanks to our delightful Kirsten and her husband, Clark, for chairing this event. I chaired this event a few years back, and I know what it takes. And I'm so appreciative of your time and dedication, not only for today and this event, but to your service to the VNA as a whole. Kirsten has incredible media skills, as you witnessed tonight. Best MC ever. And she has applied those proactively, suggesting that we do things and then helping us see them through with a great deal of talent. So thank you. I'm also grateful to the host committee, and I see a number of your faces here this evening. Thank you all. And to our honorary chairs, the Wills family, thank you so much for your dedication over the years. They have just been a phenomenal supporter, the whole family of the VNA. And finally, I'd like to thank you all. You all are a very important part of a very special VNA community. And I'm so delighted that you're here this evening. We couldn't accomplish our mission without the financial support and the volunteer commitment of so many of you here this evening. On behalf of the board of the Visiting Nurses Association, our wonderful staff, and those we serve, thank you for being here. And thank you for your continued generous support of our cause. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our wonderful president and CEO, Catherine Krause.
Good evening. I will be very brief. I am so excited that you're here, and I know it's very energizing to be together, and I want to let you get back to that. But I do have to say a few thank yous. Mary Frances, this is her last year. So thank you for your leadership. It wasn't the last 2 years we expected, but we've made it. Eugenia King is incoming chair. Where are you, Eugenia? She'll be up here next year. And I also would like to thank our sponsors. We have a whole table here of a lead sponsor, who's Trio Community Foods now. So just a word about them. Now, they used to be Valley. If you've been here before, I've talked about Valley. They are now merged into different entities. And I mean, bottom line is they've been a long-term partner, providing very nutritious meals, good ingredients. And even though you gave us an inflation increase last 3 months ago, as long as you don't go higher, I'm fine with that. So we appreciate that you're lead sponsors here, and you've been a great partner, so thank you. And Lida Hill is also a lead sponsor. Lida Hill has been a supporter of this organization for a very long time, even way before me, and she always comes through, and she's a huge advocate for VNA. So I wanted to thank her for that. So a few numbers. I have to say that last couple of years have been very challenging, but our team, and when I talk about we, it's not just our team, it's the thousands of volunteers, it's your support, it's all that make up what VNA is. We don't sell widgets or whatever. We are only as good as what we deliver to the community, and we connect community to community, but that doesn't happen with just 300 staff. That doesn't happen with that. It takes you all, it takes the volunteers, it takes donations to make it all work. But during the pandemic, we are a unique and essential organization to take care of the elderly in our community. There aren't many organizations that do. Nobody does what we do. We work with the Senior Source and certainly Food Bank and such, but no one does what we do to make sure that the elderly in our community are not forgotten. We can't forget the people who are struggling in our community, and because of what you're doing, by being here to support them, you give them a voice and you give them hope. And so I'd like to share one story with you, how many people have delivered Meals on Wheels? How many people have you? So you all, please share your stories amongst yourselves. Those are the most powerful things. But I want to tell you a story about a 102-year-old woman that I deliver to on Mondays. I have a route on Mondays, and a lot of the staff do as well. So when I first met her, I thought she was 85 years old. She lives in a ranch-style home, just what you would imagine, tables covered with lace, lots of area lamps with lots of light, and lots of momentums, a lifetime of mementos. And in fact, she has a picture of her, I think it's her grandfather, or great-grandfather, who's in a business suit on a horse, and he was one of the original founders of McKinney. So, I mean, she's been around a long time, and she has one son. I thought she was 85, but she's 102, and she always starts everything with girl, and so she's full of spunk, she's just living it, and she said, I'm here to help people if I can, that's what it's about. It's us helping each other. So, and even more so as we've come through COVID, that's what it's all about, a meaningful life. So she worked at Parkland and yada, 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 but she has a son. He lives in Missouri. He's talking to her about, putting her life
up there, which is very hard. So she's been crying a lot, lately, the last couple of visits, she's been crying. And so Mary Frances talked about how we're meshing more of the clinical, bringing in, we have more clinical help to support Meals on Wheels folks in addition to our hospice organization. So I was able to say, would you like a visit from a medical social worker? And she said, yes, I would. And that's great. So last week they met, and not only is she helping her through this moving thing that everybody goes through, our parents and such, and eventually we will as well. But there were about 5 or 6 other things that the medical social worker discovered that this person needed. So I hope that you'll share your stories as well. We can't do it without you, without thousands of volunteers. So we're looking forward to our next year. And I appreciate you helping to continue the VNA legacy. We started in 1934 by volunteers and by actually Sadie Lefkowitz, who was the wife of the Temple Emmanuel rabbi at the time in 1934. We've been around 88 years. I always remember it. That's when my mom was born. So never forget that date. And we appreciate you carrying on the legacy. And now I'm going to transfer it over. Thank you very much for being the best MC ever, the best board member, the best podcast queen, the best in love with VNA person ever. So turn it back over to you.
You didn't know I was going to be here with you.
I did not.
I have a surprise. What's that? Okay. Allow me to indulge for a second. This is a total surprise to her. You guys are going to receive a copy of Jubilee, which is my latest book that talks about Black food history and cookbooks. And on page 83, one of the stories that is told is about a woman named Lucille Bishop Smith. And you can read about that when you get your book. But what is significant here is that her great grandson is one of the auction items, or the raffle items. So I'm here to do a commercial for the raffle, which is my first entry into being an advocate for the work that is being done here. Chris's story, he is the great grandson of Lucille Bishop Smith. She was a nutritionist in Houston. He has a restaurant there now in her name. And you will be able to read all about her on page 83. But in the meantime, there is an auction item that references Lucille's restaurant, and it is in connection with the woman who created what we now know as Pillsbury Hot Roll Mix, was created by this woman when she was serving it to young kids in East Texas. So that's amazing. Make your way over to Chris's auction item. And thank you for letting me have that.
I'm so glad. So I did not know that. And so the package is a weekend stay at the luxurious Houstonian Hotel and dinner at Lucille's. And Chris Williams is actually a James Beard Award nominee, which I don't know if you follow that, but it's a real honor to be nominated. Our dear Tony Tipton Martin is a James Beard Award winner for food writing. And so, yeah, so that's a great package, and it's worth, $1,000. And so you too can get it for $100 over there. So I think otherwise we're ready. We're ready to do some, Clark's going to draw the names, and I hope my name comes up, but if it does, it'll look like insider trading. So we don't want that, do we, Martha?
Bent down the corner of your ticket, just let me know.
Oh, that's right. Okay, we'll do the Houstonian last in case there are any last takers. Okay, go ahead. So this is a $2,000 gift card for Eisman Jewels, and Betsy Eisman is a long-term board member for VNA, and she and Richard were the chairs a couple years ago. And the winner is Kathy Miller. Kathy Miller. There you go. You got some bling, girl. Come on up. We will connect you. Congratulations. I know. And your husband's like, I'm so glad. Like, she wanted that $7,000 ring, girl. That was going to cost me $5,000.
Best $100 you ever spent.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. Totally.
Okay, this is exciting. So Julian Barsotti is a local chef, and he has Nona and Facchini, and he's about to open Odelay Tex-Mex. His mother owned Shelly Hudson, and I can't even blanking on her partner's name. They own the food company, and the food company is our amazing caterer. They have been working with VNA for years and years doing this dinner. So, her son, Shelly's son is Julian Barsotti, and Julian has offered a private dinner for 10 people at the soon to open Odelay Tex-Mex. And the winner is Leland White. I'm sorry, Shirley. Oh, Andrea Hager, that's right. Is Leland here? Leland, okay.
There it is.
So also, I on that website. Thanks, dude. Okay, we got a couple more prizes. Okay, Beverly Hills. We got an amazing Astrid Merriman is one of the creators of this event, and she's online. Hello, Astrid. Wow, I love you. And she got this amazing package shopping trip to Beverly Hills, and the winner is John Sears. Oh my God, John Sears. John, you sexy thing. You get to hang out with the Kardashians, bruh.
We're going to Beverly Hills.
John is a board member of VNA, so thank you. You deserve this. Don't forget to pay your taxes on this prize.
Get you some new swim trunks.
And this one is? What is it? Oh, nice. Okay. So this is the Le Creuset, and Le Creuset is this amazing enamel-coated cast iron product that is from Charleston. Well, it's from France, but oh my God, Deborah Ropp, you're the winner. Deborah is one of my dear friends who supports every crazy thing I get myself involved in. And her husband is from DeRidder, Louisiana, and makes a very good gumbo zerbs, which he can make in his pan.
Okay, what is this worth?
Oh, it's like it's worth
It's
about
priceless, right?
$800. What's that? $1 million.
Okay, so we'll donate it back,
Oh.
and anybody that wants to match what we paid for it, it's yours.
Oh my gosh, that is a very good
Whatever
offer.
the value is.
Well, the value
Okay.
is what, $750? What is it? She has to check. I would say $500. $500. Somebody wants this for $500. Think of the gumbo you could make with this. Wedding presents. Who's getting married? If you don't cook, somebody you know does. Okay, thank you, Louis. So we're going to hold this. We're going to table this because somebody I know wants this amazing cookware. Thank you. Okay, this is what? Houston. All right. Okay. This is the Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this trip to Houston is Nicole Everett. Nicole Everett, where are you? You are going to Houston, lady. Okay, good. You're going to love Lucille's. We just had his food last week. It's absolutely amazing. Here you go. And so, absolutely, thank you so much. So you are all welcome to stay and visit. It's so good to see y'all. Like, I felt like I hadn't been out in a really long time, and y'all all gave me a reason to use Spanx. Like, I have not had to wear my Spanx in like 2.5 years. So thank you for that. And Clark also thanks you for that.
Yes. So wait, we still got this unfinished business.
Oh yeah. Well, what do you want to do with that?
Yeah. So we got to close the loop on this pot, this wonderful pot.
Like we say, it's
Louis, I am going to buy your pot if you promise to make gumbo for me. Is that a deal? Okay. $500. I got it. He makes a really great gumbo. He does. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Louis. Thank you all for being here. Thanks everybody for being here.
Have a good night. Thank you. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You
you sip your tea. The memory of all that. No, no, they can't take that away from me. The way your smile just beams, the way you sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, no, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love.